There's a border that I've noticed in my travels between stretching and uplifting and being in new environments and the excitingness of it, and like, oh my gosh, there's too unpredictability, there's too much new stuff, there's too much to adapt to. And it's this fine border. And when we want to go on holiday, or when we're looking for a new environment, work, home, or a break, we're often looking for something that is comfortable and yet is also a stretch. And people have varied degrees of what this is, and some of us look for more extreme, like totally foreign, new, and others look for very similar, but maybe in a different climate. So this is what I want to explore today while I'm here in Tenerife still. My name's Cassandra Punita James, and this is one of my vlogs exploring courageous ways of living and stretching ourselves by freeing ourselves from the past and opening up new doors. And it's not always a comfortable process, but it can be amazing. So here, I'm in Tenerife. I have been for the last month. And it's not hugely foreign. It's slightly foreign. It's a new country for me. They speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I speak a little Italian. I discovered that they don't, very rarely. And there's very few words that are similar. So I'm adapting, but I'm staying with friends who actually do speak Spanish. So therefore I have more support. There's these things that it's like, which way do we balance things? So I've come to new culture, new island, new temperature. And if I pull away, you can see behind me a little better. If I step into the sun, you won't see me very well, but you'll see the background very well. Yes, it's glorious sun most of the time. And then sometimes there's sandstorms. This is the thing. We all need this stretch that happens when we go into a new environment. Now, it could come because you've changed your work and you've gone to a new job and it's massive. And it can come when we go to a new country. And when we go on holiday, what we're often looking for, there's some people who are total adventure seekers, and I myself am often this way. But I've learned to pick the type of holiday that I need, whether I'm resting my body or whether I'm wanting to excite my spirit. If I'm exciting my spirit, I'll go to, I went to Morocco one time to a music festival, and there were sandstorms, and they spoke French and I speak some French, so that was easier. But it was really it was a stretch holiday. And I realized at the time my body actually needed a relaxed holiday, and I should have probably gone somewhere and just hung out on the beach and chilled. But I rarely do those sort, but every now and then they're needed. Here, this has been a working holiday for me. I've been offering Pocket Buddha out to the world, my tiny meditation group. And at the same time, we've had time to go and explore with my friends, going up a mountain. So we're in the sun one morning, swimming, and then by the afternoon and sunset, we were up on top of the mountain, and the next morning we went back up there and it was snowing. So it's that top of the mountain was 0 degrees. So that's that sort of extreme contrast, and this stretches us. Now, these days it's harder to travel, and what I've noticed is a lot of people are like, okay, there is a stretch that's being asked for us when we travel. It's unpredictable. These are the qualities of stretching. It's unpredictable. We're not quite sure what will happen. And then it's like, okay, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to do it? Because the rules are changing every day. I'll be flying back to the UK in about 4 or 5 days. And I'll be checking the rules every day up until I go, because I know from past experience that they change. And so it's like, okay, rather than handling it at the airport with the wrong vaccine, the wrong, tests or the wrong paperwork, I will try and organize ahead, but we can't organize everything ahead. And yet also, even with this nervousness about so many conditions and rules and changing variability, it excites us and it uplifts us, and it's so incredible to be in new surroundings. So maybe you don't want to travel, maybe it's too difficult, maybe it's impossible. And then what can you do? Make small shifts, go hunting for things that do this uplift, because it actually stimulates part of our brain. I'll talk about that on another talk. So you might go to explore a different street in your town. You might take time out and go just street wandering and sitting in a park and see who comes past you. You might go for a weekend somewhere that isn't very far from you, but has a really different energy, location, experience. So you can make it small. You might be looking for changing your work. That is massive. You know, new workplace, maybe whether it's working from home or working for other people, and whether it's working in an office or not, it's like this is a whole huge change, and it will stretch your body. It will probably stress you, but these are good stresses when we have these type of stress. So I'm interested to know how you're feeling about the requirement that we all have at the moment to adapt, maybe more than we previously wanted to. Maybe our comfort zone, maybe your comfort zone was not having to change things in your world too much unless you chose to. And here it is being tossed at us from outside and we don't have a choice. How are you feeling about it? It stresses our body, sure. But if we go, okay, and we choose it and we jump into it and we go, okay, so how can I handle this and how can I keep my body relaxed with a whole lot of the things that I share in these vlogs, then we can handle it better and take it in small doses. So I remember as a kid, we lived in Europe when I was a kid, and we lived in a combi van, and we lived in castles and youth hostels and rented houses from the Italian mafia and all sorts of unusual things. And then we went back to Australia, and it was that shock of the new, of going back. It was so completely different. And it wasn't what people consider a traditional shock, but it was going back into the normal world. And then we got a farm, and we had to learn about animals, and we had to learn about farming because we knew nothing about it. This sort of stretch is so good for us. This sort of stretch grows us. So you can do it as a holiday. It can be a weekend, it can be a day, and it can be in the way that you choose. But be aware that life will show you, toss you, introduce you to, and throw around for you the unexpected as well. Like the other morning where we went up to the top of the mountain to watch the sunrise at dawn, and it snowed, and we were in a tiny electrical Cinquecento, and the car handled it really well. We were very low on electricity because there's no charging point up there because it was snowing, everything was closed. But it was stunningly beautiful, and it was so glorious. I loved it. There's adaptability, and the more we expose ourselves to this, the more our body handles it. My life has been one of travel. Ever since I was 10, when my family first hit the road, I've traveled a lot of my life, and I love going to new locations and new environments or new situations, and it can be just in the next town or the next village or exploring a new street. So I'd love to hear how you feel about changes, and what do you do when you need a dose of something new. I was exploring this with my Courageous Way members just the other evening, and we were talking about countries that are easier to go to. Well, that's a lovely thing to look up. Spain is pretty good at the moment. So this is a Spanish island, Tenerife, and so it's pretty easy to come down here. But then there's just finding that experience of something fresh and new that reinvigorates us, that gets us like alert and awake and activated again in somewhere local, small and easy. And it can be done, and I'd love to hear what you do for yours. Ciao.